everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you all are having a wonderful day, an excellent week. Welcome to Midnight Hatter Live, the weekly variety show where we talk Gundam, Gunpla, and gaming. I'm your host, Midnight Hatter, aka Steven, and joining me as always, the Blue Gamer, Gundam Explainer, Adam Blue. How are you?
Hey, doing good. Glad to catch up because we sometimes forget to talk that much during the week, and we were
True.
talking just now, but I was telling you just how much stuff I still needed to tell you. You know, because I think, and again, I've talked about before how like sometimes I'm bored of building and I just want to
Yeah,
get through painting, but I've built so much the past 2 weeks. I just every day I'm building something else. I don't know
I was
what
going to say, on that note, you did mention, for those of you guys who didn't catch it, Adam dropped a review of the Robot Spirits Double X plus is
G
it G
Falcon.
Falcon?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which at the end of the video, you did comment like, that you had been kind of like taking a break from building just to review a figure, and like kind of comparing the fulfillment of building a model kit versus, just buying an action figure.
Yeah, I know, and that I sometimes I feel like what my favorite Gundam of the week is, my feelings of that. Because
Yeah,
right now, with when I'm building, I feel like I am able to fully control every aspect because a lot of times now, and this could be something people are already doing all the time, but I will fully detail a part sometimes, except for the top coat, before I say I'm done building it. And I was just weird example, the, SD Mighty Strike, but there's just so many areas where, another one piece fits into another, but then something will come out the other side, and it's like, "You know what? Before I put that on, why don't I just paint it something cool, like a silver
yeah,
or a gunmetal?" And
oh,
I think that
absolutely.
it's just another little thing that it's easy, and it just adds more to your building experience, you know?
You know what's a perfect example of that is on the high grade Gundam EX from Requiem for Vengeance.
Yeah.
There are so many little components, like especially in the torso. I don't know if this is going to even show up on camera, but like on the tops of the shoulders, there are these little energy pipes that kind of are molded into the inner torso frame. And like I went in with some chrome Sharpies and like painted those parts before I put the armor plate on top. And like you said, it's just those little pops of detail that really enhance the finished product. And I think that like, we had Gunpla Luke on last year and his philosophy is to work piece by piece. Like
I
don't
know.
build the whole kit and then customize the whole kit, but like, do just an arm, like start to finish an entire arm. And that's something that I need to start doing more
That's
often.
interesting. That is a weird sort of thing to do because it's almost like you have to change a habit. You know?
Hmm.
Like, when I first played guitar, I played it in a way where I'd hold the thumb and my index finger and do that, and it was perfectly fine. But as I would then start playing more advanced stuff with my friends, they were, like, telling me how I need to kinda hold it like
Yeah.
this. Yeah, and I was like, "How could I completely change what I've been doing for years? It's impossible." But you know what? It didn't take that long. You adjust.
No.
And I think that's the case for, doing stuff with Gunpla. I feel like if you need to change a habit because you're so used to how you're building, you can do it and you just don't realize it. And it will come easy. And it'll become second nature. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I mean, what, it takes 90 days to start
Yeah.
or break a habit?
Yeah.
There you
Right.
go.
And I think one of the main ones is making sure I've completely removed any plastic nubbing when I take a piece off. Like, even if I'm not going all the way with sanding, at least work with what you can right then.
That's fair. Yeah. So who was I talking to the other night about Gunpla files? Um Man, now I'm blanking because if I was talking to you the other night about Gunpla files, the steady and the gun primer razor and all that.
Yeah, I know
I
we've
think
talked
it was
about it before,
Goku
not
guy
mentioning.
actually.
Oh,
But yeah, that was one of those things where it's like if you're gonna paint a kit, like obviously don't use nice glass files. It doesn't make sense because you're gonna be painting over it anyway. But like,
oh,
you
that's
know,
right. Yeah, I
if
remember you
if you
saying
if you're
something.
just gonna build and then like maybe panel line and do your top coat and everything like that, then absolutely I would invest in either the, like, Steady or, like, the Gun Primer Razor, but
Yeah,
yeah, builder struggles, man.
I know. I was
I am
gonna
still
say
working along on this V8, which
oh, yeah.
I told myself I wasn't gonna paint it, and here I am hand painting it, and honestly, like, the more and more I look at these pieces that I've hand painted, I'm like, "This is phenomenal." Like,
Using the sponge technique?
I use the sponge technique on, like, larger surfaces, and then I go in with a brush on smaller
Yeah,
surfaces or,
yeah.
like, detail parts,
Which from
and
your video, to turn around and
hey.
plug yours, um, which was a surprise.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
wanted
know
to.
oh, I'm sorry, I
No,
was
no.
because I remember now you were telling me how you were working on something, and I remember how you're like, "Oh, I have to shoot this, I have to shoot that," 'cause this came out of nowhere, and it's pretty nicely edited.
Hey, much appreciated. Yeah, I have been working on it for a few weeks. I had intended to, have the video done a couple weeks ago because obviously I had sent out, a poll on both Instagram, X, YouTube, because the models that I use in the video, and for those of you guys who haven't seen it yet, like, obviously after this, go check out my video on sponge painting using, melamine sponges. Um, the kits that I was using were the Zaku Origin kits, and I was curious, like, because when I was recording the voiceover, I've heard lots of people say either Zaku or Zaku, and I was like, "Well, what's the popular consensus?" Because I've always just said Zaku, but Zaku, I don't know. Is it a British thing? Like,
I that's dude, you blew my mind. This seems to be the most you would think the first conversation anyone would have with Gundam. But
right?
I feel like I've used it interchangeably.
Yeah, sometimes it slips out,
Wow. Now I
but
don't know what is right. I don't even think I can sleep tonight.
yeah, there's definitely, man. But 63% of you all said that, you say Zaku like I do, so,
Zaku.
Zaku Zaku. But yeah, I appreciate the plug. Obviously, like I said, if you guys, haven't seen it yet, definitely go check that video out as well because I am very proud of it. Thank you for
Yeah,
complimenting the editing, Adam, because, yeah,
that's
that
my
was,
thing.
I was working really hard on that one to make sure that not only that the Gunpla in it looked good, but also that the final video looked good, so
Oh, yeah, no, it did, and it reminded me, like, because like I've said, I have a Mighty Strike Freedom high grade that I'm gonna paint to look more like a UC style suit, and I'm glad I caught that because it because that's the next thing I'm gonna do, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's right, I can do the sponge thing, the, dry eraser, whatever, uh,
yeah, exactly.
Mr. Clean."
Yeah, and they're really cheap too, so,
Yeah, I have a
um,
whole pack of them because when you mentioned it to me before, I think, and I went on Amazon and bought
get them in bulk and
oh, dude, speaking of things on Amazon, and I'm gonna have to detail this more for everybody.
mm,
I I need to store my Gunpla. I have too much, okay?
yeah,
But I wanna find a way that's easy and affordable. And what I'm saying might not be a revelation to anyone, but, that foam stuff you can get where you can pluck it out and shake so,
yeah,
I got that, and I just bought a 12 it was a 12 by 6 by 2 something like that, and then it just so happened the Ami Ami box I had was the same dimensions, and I bought 4 of them, and so it came out to this height, and the Ami Ami box I had was that height, and so I
perfect.
tested it out, doing it in 2 different ways. One is plucking to make individual crevices, and the other one is there's an outer layer of it, and then I just take the outer layer, and then I put another one on top, and it creates
Like
I
that
guess and it's
yeah,
for
the
people that maybe, "Yeah, I'll just slap them in," or if you wanna actually build it out. Anyway, I'm gonna have to film this process and then link to the things. It was $25 for 4 of the foam things, and then I saw they
not
sell
bad.
for $38 25 boxes that are 16 by 16 or no, 12 by 6 by 6 or something. Anyway, I'll
That's
document this,
awesome.
but I've always been trying to find the ultimate way to store the Gunpla so it's
Or if you're
secure.
moving.
Yeah, and yeah, if you're moving too, because and
Yeah,
I almost feel like you should if you're someone that has a lot of Gunpla, you should probably always have some sort of storage at the ready, you
Yeah.
know?
In case of hurricanes, floods.
Fires. I mean, like, in California, I mean, I bet there's some people that it's like one of those things where you love your Gunpla collection, but it might not be as important as maybe some other things that you have to get out of the house. But
Yeah.
by having a easy way to, like, get a empty box that can put fragile things in.
Yeah, I've never heard of the, like you said, using the foam. Well, I've seen people like using the foam for like, display purposes, but I'd
Right.
never thought of like using that for term storage. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how you did that and maybe do something similar myself.
Yeah. There's too many things. I have to store
Right.
storage.
Yeah, and speaking of spending money, there is a ton of Gunpla news and, well, the hobby news in general around Gundam that came out this week, and so I just kinda wanna go through it with you guys and, share my impressions, get Adam's impressions because I was surprised that, he hadn't seen some of this stuff either, so, yeah, let's hop into tonight's topic du jour. So first of all, last night I was lucky to catch Vampy Bit Me when she was live. She did an unboxing of the Gundam card game beta, which obviously Adam and I are both the Fairly Odd Parents meme of like this is where I'd keep my my card
Yeah,
game
I
beta if I had one.
know.
She was lucky to get one, and she had managed to avoid all of the spoilers, all of the previews, and so it was really amazing to get her like live first reactions to everything in the beta box. So I was lucky to hang out and I was in the chat there with her for a while. If you're subscribed to the channel, you can watch the video on demand. Obviously Twitch TV slash Vampy Bit Me. But I gotta tell you, after seeing what was in the beta box, I don't think that you and I missed out.
Really?
Yeah.
What why is that? Was there just a lack of interesting.
So it's a beautiful presentation. White box. Obviously, it's got the fancy like hollow logo. It had
Yeah.
like a cool little like clear plastic sleeve that holds it shut. There were 9 booster packs in it. The six-sided dice, six-sided dice. Which those were pretty cool. They're plastic, but they look kind of like metal, and
Oh, okay.
so there's like a nice finish to them. And then it had like basically a structure deck. So it had, the resource cards, a base card, and then like a couple of like standard, um, just initial playing cards. And then it had one, like I guess super secret rare RX-78 that was on top.
Oh, that's cool.
So as far as like limited edition cards, there's really just the one, and then you get the cool box, and then in the booster packs, most of the cards, and this could have just been poor Vampy's bad luck, but most of the cards were, not super secret rare.
And isn't
um,
it where that there's a number of rare cards that you might get in one beta and someone might get a different one in the other beta?
exactly. And then this is the other thing is there was no guarantee of like a foil card in every pack, which I thought was interesting. So like she had a couple of packs that she opened that it was like all common or uncommon. I'm not even sure how the rarities work in this particular game yet, but
Hmm.
yeah,
That's fun. That's kinda strange that they're giving this beta out, to limited people, but not making sure that it has exciting things in.
on the other hand, it is the kind of thing that you and I complained about when we didn't get one, and so now I don't feel as much of the
Oh,
FOMO,
yeah.
and so now I don't know. This is where I'm like, it's really cool that they did this beta box program. I would be very ticked off if I bought one off of a scalper and like this was all that was in it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I almost feel like the beta boxes were basically designed to be something like this, where it's like Vampy sharing this stuff ahead of launch so that people can get excited about it. And I think that is, now that I'm understanding it better, that makes a lot more sense than making it something that people are going to feel FOMO about, that there are chase cards that are never going to be released. Like, I mean, the fact
Yeah.
that that RX-78 that's like the one that's guaranteed, she pulled a second one from one of the booster packs.
Wow. Okay.
So
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. It almost like it's not like we're losing excitement over it. I guess just because part of it too is when you see when it was on sale, and then you feel like you can secure it so you can get it so then you can start playing. But really, it's kind of a limited thing right now, and the people that are
Yeah.
having it are really just sharing what this is going to be. It's not like people are actively playing and we're missing out.
And that was one of the first things that Vampy said was like, "I don't even have anybody to play with right now." So if anybody
Oh
has a beta
no,
box or like or when the game comes out proper, like, let's get a game together.
yeah,
So, so yeah, that was I was very happy to be able to catch that because obviously, it put things in perspective around the Gundam card game. Which speaking of, we have some more details. We have some official prices on some of
okay,
the structure decks that are going to be coming out here in July. The official launch date for, the Gundam card game products is July 11th. So right around the corner, and obviously we already know about the four structure decks: Wings of Advance, Heroic Origins, Zeon's Rush, and was it Strike something?
yeah.
Siege Strike. There we
See,
go.
okay.
Now, don't be confused by the fact that there are two prices on the website, and this is, I have to say, I'm a little disappointed about the way that the website presents this because it can be confusing.
Okay.
So let's say, like, all right, we're looking at the slideshow here, and I want Heroic Beginnings. You can see there it says July 11th, 2025. 11.99 for the MSRP on this, right? So let's
Mm.
go click view this product. So for the structure deck, it's about 12 bucks, which not bad for a structure deck. It's been a while since I've bought like a
Is a structure deck like a typical Pokemon pack of cards? Does it work like
so a
that?
structure deck is actually like a pre-built playable deck. So
Oh.
it
But is
it
that where you would get most of collecting the cards, you would buy those structure decks?
you would probably get like one or two like chase cards, but then most of it's just going to be commons. If you wanted to get like the
Oh,
super high-end collectible cards, you'd have to buy the booster packs, which
the booster packs are the things to go for.
yeah, yeah,
What
and the booster packs, I saw them in the, product section. We'll get to those in just a moment. Those are gonna be, $4.99, which I
Oh,
or is it $3.99 or $4.99? We'll get to it, but also not terribly expensive compared to what I was expecting. I was expecting the structure decks themselves to be like 20 bucks.
okay.
Um so yeah, straight out of the box, obviously, and this was cool, is it tells you which series are featured in the structure decks. So Unicorn and the original series are in this one, the Xeon's Rush. It doesn't give me a card count, but it does say a pre-constructed deck, damage card, play sheet, and more to start playing. I assume the
Oh,
more means dice. But here's where I think it is a little misleading because enter the true battlefield. The Gundam Assemble starter set comes with the miniature sized Gunpla. That's, in this case for Zeon's Rush, it comes with Char Zaku and two, standard ground type Zakus. Uh, those figures do not come in this set because this is the 11.99 set. The structure deck that is 34.99 actually comes with, oh, hey, look, we actually have pictures of the miniatures. These were announced these were during like the announcement live stream in Tokyo a couple weeks ago. So I'm really stoked that they actually have the unfinished, unpainted versions of these. So
what
that's
it's
the
supposed to
Sharzaku,
look
yeah.
like when they're purchased, right?
Yeah, so this is what they would look like out of the box. Man, I love that Heat Hawk pose, man.
Yeah, these are cool. These are gonna be fun.
So, like I said, don't be confused, obviously, and even there's a disclaimer in here. The regular starter set version does not include the Gundam Assemble figures. Only the
Yeah.
Gundam Assemble version does. So bear that in mind. Do not think you're getting 3 minis for 12 bucks.
So that's interesting. So you could buy the Xeon thing and then buy the Assemble starter and get the same cards?
Yeah, in theory, it's basically the same pack. It's just one comes with miniature figures and the other one doesn't.
Interesting.
And to my knowledge, they don't really add anything to the game. It's just, to look cool.
Hmm.
But I kinda want them anyway just to practice
Yeah,
painting.
exactly. In fact, I would if I was playing the card game, I would want to have a representation of every card.
Oh, absolutely. I would 3D print the ones that I don't have.
Yeah, there you go. No, that's a great idea, actually. People could just start bringing their Gunpla.
There you go, man.
Yeah, that's
So what do you think? Come July, do you think you're gonna pick up any of these, starter decks?
yeah, I I would buy them all. I mean, really, I am. I'm really gonna be into collecting this. This takes me back to, early '90s when I was collecting the Marvel cards, and, you know
Uh-oh, did I lose you?
Oh, maybe.
That might have just been my computer bugging out because obviously
Oh.
the high resolution slideshow, but sorry, go on. Back to the '90s when you had,
Oh, no. Yeah, those Marvel cards, they were so awesome. Like, I think that's what got me into X-Men were the cards and then the show, but being able to collect the cards isn't gonna take up as much space as Gunpla, and, having,
yeah.
like, a I would love, to get an official card, binder to collect all the that type of thing, and then I can go look at the artwork and all that. It's the
Yeah.
whole package for me, really.
Um, so yeah, I mean, shoot, here's the
Oh,
seed.
and also to add, sorry,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, sorry to get but it's one of the things too, you're saying what, the booster packs are like 4.99 or something like that?
Oh, yeah,
Which is a
let's take
great, like, cheap thing to collect, inexpensive thing, considering when I go to the Gashapon store and it costs $10 to get 5 tokens.
yeah, no kidding. So yeah,
Yeah,
4.99. So
$4.99.
the first booster pack that's coming out is July 25th, and that's just a couple weeks after the starter decks come out and the featured series from that. Man, it's got a lot actually.
Oh,
It's
cool.
got stuff from Wing, from Gundam, from Seed, from Unicorn, and Witch from Mercury.
No after war, what? No, I'm joking. That eventually that'll happen.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, so it's so funny because I commented that on your video earlier today is like, man, the perfect timing to review the Double X now that Gundam X is on Tubi for everybody to.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's what got me to buy it, to get the Robot Spirits figure, just watching that show. My, 8-year-old came out. It's like, "Mom, I need the toy."
Exactly right. And so then final piece of Gundam card game slash Gundam Assemble news is this, which I don't know if I can play it without being, struck for copyright stuff, but we're just going to take a look at it. Special announcement for the Gundam card game. Let's see here. We know these cards
Mm.
and we know these characters. G-Quux is coming to the Gundam card game in Starter Deck 6, Clan Unity.
And that said 10/2025. So, um, I guess they've got some staggered releases for us to look forward to, I guess, as they come out with stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. So I mean, I'm glad that they have like such an advanced release schedule where they're going to be kind of continuing this and making it like
Well, yeah,
th-
for people that wanna start getting into it, they can see that they have some plans,
right, yeah.
that'll be going
It
on,
it
so
shows that they're investing behind it. Like they're not just kind of like waiting and seeing if people are gonna snap into it, and maybe just even the initial reaction to the beta decks has been like, oh yeah, this is amazing.
yeah.
Um, so
Yeah, that is
yeah,
cool. Hey, you know what? I think there is a slight delay, and that might have been when
might have been when
I'm
things.
gonna refresh my yeah, I'm gonna refresh real quick just in case.
Okay, yeah, let me know.
Remember that, and I don't wanna make it sound like I'm trying to talk over you.
No, not at all.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll see what happens. Um, cool. Oh, yeah, Ultronus is saying there is an audio desync for me.
Okay.
Um, well, okay, well, yeah, we'll see.
Cool.
I
Ultronus says it's back on, so
Oh,
and
okay.
the echo is gone too. Excellent.
Good. Yeah, I hit refresh on the things and it's cool.
Again, I think
Alright.
it's because of, like, obviously, I had that, like, slideshow rolling on, and I've got a lot of tabs open because there's a lot of news to talk about. But,
I
yeah,
know, and no, I'm thankful for this because it's hard for me to grasp, card game stuff for news, and you know the stuff, so I'm glad I can lean on you for that.
I honestly did not, think that I was gonna be as interested in the card game as I am, but especially after the rules are actually available to download and, like, read through on the website, and, they even have, like, deck recommendations, like, "Oh, if you're gonna make a deck, like, you should try, like, a green-white combo, you should do this, that, and that," and, um, yeah, so I mean, how often am I
I'm
gonna
really
get to
gonna have
play?
to read it. That's just because I can easily be like, "Steven, what do I do? Steven, what should I be doing here?" I can tell.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like when I would play, Yu-Gi-Oh! Online with people, and it was I mean, I remember one time I was playing with Pyro, and I had my turn, I went first, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna play this monster in face down defense mode, and I'll lay this trap card," and I was like, "I'm done, like, that's all I've got." And then he opens up with this huge combo where he's like, "I'm gonna play this card that allows me to search my deck for this card, which I'm gonna special summon this monster from my hand without sacrificing anything. And then I tribute that card using its card effect in order to fusion summon these two monsters, which then I'm gonna fuse them to summon this one from my hand." I'm like, dude, it's the second turn. Like, it's
That's insane. Wait, was this live playing?
yeah, this would have been live on Unusualist Pyro.
Like, how did that work? Were it was over, like, the webcams?
Oh no, we were using like you know, we were like playing online, like on a TTS, like yeah.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. Oh, interesting. Alright, yeah. See, that's one world I don't, haven't really gotten too much into, that's why I'm excited about this. Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, this is another big thing is like so Alan Mitchell says Yu-Gi-Oh got so broken. Absolutely it did. And that's why I'm excited to get in on the ground floor of the Gundam card game where maybe we can start with like a nice balanced game and it's not going to have like that power creep that that happens to late game card games.
Or like GBO2 with, like, the 750 costs and they had to yeah, that's interesting. It's like you could see that in video games as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes me kind of bummed out about GBO2 because I kind of feel like as they've added more and more powerful suits, now you kind of see more categories broken out. So, like, if you go to quick matchmaking, instead of just having like basic and ace, like you get two options, two rooms you can play in. It's like, no, you've got like a basic, you've got an ace, you've got a ground type, you've got a space type.
Yeah.
So, there's like a lot of different matches going on, but there's not enough players to fill all of those different match types.
Yeah.
And so you
I
end up
know.
with longer wait queues. So that kind of stinks. But
Yeah.
what can you do?
GBO3?
There you go. Well, while we wait for GBO3 to come along, huge announcement here this week is Gunpla Builders World Cup 13th tournament announced. The website is now live, gbwc.bandaihobby.net. They've announced like all of the regulations and the summaries and like the different regions that this is going to be taking place in. So let's take a look here because this will give us our sort of timeline of how long I have to build something that's going
Well, yeah. I mean, what do you think? I know we've talked about it briefly, but are you gonna try to enter something?
I would really like to finish this Zeta Plus Hummingbird, and I think that I am going to now that I've kind of gotten my feet wet with the V8 and those LEDs. I've gotten a little bit more comfortable with hand painting. I am going to 100% hand paint this kit. Yeah, I think that this guy is going to be ready
Nice.
for fall. I hope. I mean, we'll
Diorama?
see. No, no, I'm just going to do on base.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't think I could do a full diorama, but I think what I'll do is I'm going to take some advice. I'm going to take a page out of Gunpla Luke's book, and I will make parts individual at a time so that
Hmm.
not only because I think that that will allow me to kind of drip feed content to you guys will be able to see the process like start to
Oh, yeah.
finish, but also I think that that's going to allow me to stay on task and finish pieces in a timely fashion.
That's
Uh,
cool. Yeah, kind of like sectioning off, and yeah, that's a great idea. Great idea.
yeah, I think so.
Really
So, I
cool.
mean, I think the very first thing that I'm going to do, just as a spoiler for you guys, so here we have one of the booster units. This came from the old, I think it was like a 1990s kit of the S Gundam booster unit. Um, I am going to install some color change LEDs, some RGB controlled LEDs in the thrusters, and yeah, I don't know yet how we're going to do all of it, but obviously it's a nice thick part. It's hollow, like there's
Yeah.
nothing in this thing. It's just like all one big shell. So I don't know whether I'm going to make like clear resin copies of the inside of the thruster for the light to shine through, or maybe I'll just drill some holes. But either way, I think that
Mhm.
it's going to be cool that like I'll be able to control like, oh, is it going to flash blue or maybe it'll start glowing yellow depending on the level of thrust that we're trying to simulate.
Yeah, that okay, something just came to me. What if, and I don't know how practical this could be, is like it would have functionality, like for instance, you could move the head and it would change the color of the LEDs, for instance. Like maybe some sort of built-in gimmick that even though it's a piece, like but I wonder if that would even count. Is there ever any functional gimmicks that count in a model
Well,
contest?
so it's funny you mention that because Artie and I were talking on Discord the other day about Ryan, Gunpla enthusiast, not taking home first place in the GBWC of last year, and I feel like gimmicks do not get much they don't get much love, in like model competitions. It doesn't matter how many LEDs you put in or moving parts, anything like that. That stuff always gets trumped by like how well do you do the fundamentals. And so this is one of those things where I am not anticipating to even place in my local competition, but I'm going to be proud of it all the same. And my plan, of course, is to do it using my phone here. So this is the
Oh,
app that I use to actually control the V8 uh, and the Mercurius for that matter. Like both of them are going to be controlled from this, and it's just got like a couple of buttons, like triggers, and like a little slide switch to turn them on and off. And so basically, I'm going to create a similar app where I'll be able to control all of the lighting that's going on inside the Hummingbird via Bluetooth. So
that's probably better anyway, because it's cool to sit back there and be able to like press things as people are looking at it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that is cool. But
but
all
yeah,
right,
so
yeah. As for this event schedule, I don't understand. So it says April 2025. How does that work?
yeah,
Are they already
man. So,
started? Did you already build this year? Did you already finish?
yeah, I hope that I have longer than a month.
Yeah.
So it looks like I don't know. It looks like it depends on the region. I know that last year the US was not until like October. So yeah,
Oh, okay, okay. I mean, because kind of like you were just saying how, like, I know you were saying, "Oh, I might not even place." I mean, hey, you never know. But I think to what you're really getting at is just kind of setting that as a goal, just
yeah,
to make something to enter. Actually, just seems kind of fun anyway.
yeah, absolutely. I think that that's the more important.
Yeah.
The more important thing is to actually finish a project. Which if I can finish anything this year, then I'll be happy. And of course, like you don't even have to necessarily uh, enter at a physical location. Obviously, you can enter online here. Submitted works must be created by the applicant, must comply with conditions outlined in the photography guidelines, permitted kits and materials. Uh-oh, I'll have to see if LEDs and no, I
Mhm.
know LEDs are fine, but I don't know how they'll feel about this old vintage kit. We'll see. I'm definitely not using any like third party stuff. It's
Yeah.
literally a P Bandai kit, a vintage kit, and then all of my own wiring and paints. Um, yeah. So check it out if you guys if you guys are interested, I would encourage all of you guys to, you know.
Yeah, it seems like the way you worded it just now really made something click in my head. Just set it as a goal of something just to enter, just to say you entered. Because who knows what then that next step might be for you? Maybe then entering is no big deal, and now it's about, okay, what am I entering? That next year, you know, and just slowly
Mhm.
working at it.
Exactly right. Um, so hey, I'm excited. Now, I think that the number one stumbling block for me in making sure that I have a kit built and ready for this, well, I mean the kit's built, but obviously customizing it, installing the LEDs, all that good stuff. The number one thing that can stop me is this right here.
Oh yeah.
So we have 3 days, people. 3 days.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. I
Okay,
have. Do you have yours pre-ordered?
I do.
Okay, I do too, and it's at Hobby Link Japan.
Mhm.
Sometimes I will get my item when it's supposed to release, and sometimes I won't.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
for the G-Quux, I had pre-ordered it, and by the time I got it from Art Rovo, built it, made my video, still didn't get it from Hobby Link Japan. I was just like, well, I'm just gonna cancel. Um, uh,
Yeah.
but so I found that interesting. Isn't that interesting that Art Rovo got the G-Quux before I got it from Hobby Link
It's
Japan?
it's just so hard to tell, and man, I wish that Art Rovo was, picking up some of these because I would totally rather, pre-order from him,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
um, but yeah, I did wanna make sure that I had it pre-ordered somewhere, and of the options, Hobby Link was kind of like
The best option. That's
yeah,
when I was going to pre-order too. I think it was the combination of price and availability. Okay, so, that's I'm glad you brought this up because we haven't talked about this yet. I have been anticipating this
yeah,
because it's just around the corner. So, like you're saying, what I think you're alluding to is this could come in the mail and then postpone building your.
exactly. So the
Yeah,
best case scenario would be that this goes in my backlog.
yeah. Which, hey, at least you can say you have it.
Exactly, because obviously, I've got the Psycho one up here, and, I think that he needs some company.
Yeah, I cannot wait for my Zeta shelf. There's actually no room on my Zeta shelf. I'm gonna have to
That's why you
probably.
need a double Zeta shelf.
Oh, okay, see, there you go. Or actually, I just need to prune the, multiples of Mark IIs I have.
There you go. Yeah.
There's just too many Mark IIs just hanging around.
Alan Mitchell says it's only $80, and, yes, 16 times a second is correct before the $30 shipping because, yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
you
that's
you
the.
you pre-order it almost anywhere else, and it's probably about 120, and so the final price is probably gonna be about 120.
And, the other thing too is, and I didn't think about this, sometimes you can go to Ami just a few weeks after a release, and it's gonna be there.
Yeah.
And usually at a pretty good price because it's considered open. Like in Japan, they just came out with the Metal Robot Spirits Mighty Strike Freedom. Well, actually, it's the Strike Freedom and the Proud Defender separately, and I
Nice.
already got them because they were on AmiAmi used.
Well, so
Isn't that
it
crazy?
it's interesting because the only reason that I'm, like, particularly excited about this is because I have seen the waves of Japanese influencers start to post their builds of this kit, on Instagram and things like that. So I'm
Oh, I
like,
have not. I did not know that that was already
"Y
being
now,
thrown around.
I don't know how much that means because obviously, like, people were building the RG, 2.0
Yeah,
RX-78. They were building that, like, a year before it came out. So,
I
like,
remember
obviously,
seeing that
they
early.
shotgunned a lot of sample kits out to
Okay.
influencers on that one. I don't think that that was
Got
the
it.
case on this.
Oh, okay. You think it's just kind of out in the wild now?
Yeah, I think that maybe some people got, like, advanced copies, but, like, definitely not to the extent of the real grade.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I'm gonna have a separate double Zeta shelf.
You have to. See, and that's the perfect excuse to use the battle damaged head instead of the
Yeah, that's right, and have my, double Zeta do something more interesting. 'Cause the double
Absolutely.
Zeta is in my Zeta shelf, and I just call it the Zeta shelf. I think, though, people just refer to double Zeta as Zeta when they're just talking general time frame, you know?
It does seem that way. I mean, before I actually had watched, Gundam X, I thought that there was, like, a sequel series to Gundam X that the Double X was in. Wasn't until I
Oh.
actually watched it that I was like, "Oh, so he gets it, like,
Yeah,
mid-season."
yeah. Oh, so he just gets it. Like, which is
Um,
it I guess it's the typical Gundam thing in a way, 'cause,
it is, yeah, which I mean, there's so much about Gundam X that is, like, the typical Gundam thing because it's like, you know,
yeah,
you brought this up in your summary, how it's like in the first episode, you see the head and the arm get blown off, and it's like, "Oh, that's, like, just like the RX-78," and, like, he's fighting, like, a Zeong-looking mobile armor that has, like, hand beams and, like, just everything about Gundam X is
yeah,
really just a callback to original Gundam.
yeah, and that G Falcon from my video today, that was
Exactly. The
yeah,
G Falcon is y
yeah,
and the fact that, like, yeah, you can even kinda stick it in the like because you have the mode where obviously it clips into the back and it
mhm.
sticks out of the front, but then you have the mode where you can, like, stick his feet inside it, and
It's, yeah, I know that's one of my favorite transforming, like, space fighter modes, I think, from just because the Gundam is in it, but then they could be separate, you know, yeah, I like that. And so, yeah, what other gimmicks then are with this? So we do get, like, the double Zeta, which is pretty cool, battle damage. How often do we get that with
like, with
Gunpla?
Gunpla, like, never. I mean, the
Usually it's
most
do it
recent
on your own.
example was the Zigok, right? The from Seed Freedom.
Oh. Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. It's interesting how much, and this is a good example on the screen, how much they're adding more gimmicks, effects that are like with the robot spirits,
Yeah, which I'm very stoked about, like, yeah, so you have 2 wired, arm bits, you've got 5 well, 10 finger beams, and then 2 larger beam saber, effect parts. You have both, 10 open and 10 closed, reflector bits, and then the action base with, like, miniature stands to hold up the reflector bits.
Yeah.
It fully transforms. There's a lot with this unit.
And it's so funny because I feel like it was just the other day where we were like, 1, thinking, "Would we ever get something like this?" And then when they came out with the what is it called? Build Fighters, I forget, the
Oh,
battle log?
the Typhoeus Chimera.
Yeah, Chimera, that's right. And then we were like, "Oh, wait a minute. That means that they could be coming out with the, so that's interesting to think about it. Have another series that can use the same parts, so then you can
Mhm.
just and that's kinda smart and kinda
That
cool.
that's why I think we might get an Elmeth this year, if only because the bits
The
come with
bits.
the,
Oh,
G Plus
man.
Gundam, the red
Oh,
Gundam.
yeah, wow.
So,
I
yeah,
would love that if we got an Elmeth, because I feel
yeah.
like that's a very pivotal, uh, machine, weaponry, whatever, but there's not a lot of representation of it.
And I know that, like, a lot of people would criticize that. It's like, "Oh, it's just like a big box, like, it's like a floating, like,
Right, it's not
dome
the best
thing."
design, but
But I think that there's a lot of fun stuff you could do with it, like, a lot of moving flaps and things like that that could make it an interesting,
and
mobile armor.
do, where there's maybe, like, the effect or, scene part with the beam saber going through the front, right? That's what happened, right?
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah,
yeah,
uh, Amuro putting the beam
armor.
saber through the front. But if they do that, then we're gonna need a new high grade Gelgoog.
Oh,
Like,
has there not been see, Gelgoogs, I don't have too many of, but
yeah, I mean, Gelgoogs are so, that was something we were talking about with Gelgoog guys, like,
yeah.
first of all, obviously, the ones from 0083, very they reprint them, but they haven't had an update. But, like, Char's Gelgoog, that's one of, like, the oldest high grade kits out there. They've never done, like, a revive or anything like that.
See, I have the robot spirits for anime, so I'm satisfied in that, but I did not even think to look to see of a, yeah, the high grade of that, and yeah, you're right, it's not like I've seen any newer. You would think they would keep trying to push the, his 3 main red ones, but I wonder if just at the end of the day, Bandai realizes there's just some suits that maybe just don't, because you always think the main bad guy one would.
Yeah, and, what's interesting is as far as, like, Char's suits in Gundam, like, the Zaku remains the most iconic, like, despite the fact that he had the Zigok, the Gelgoog, the Zeong, like,
Oh, yep, that's right, the Xeon.
none of those are nearly as popular as just the Zaku, and so,
Yep.
like, whenever you see, like, collage images, you'll see the Zaku, the Hyakushiki, and the Zazubi because, like, those are the 3 that people really associate with Char.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, the other ones, it's not too much. Yeah, even the Xeon, even though that's a very interesting concept, but I wonder if this speaks to like you'd have to watch till the end of and it's just more of the maybe the culture of being into the thing, not necessarily watching it.
Mm. Yeah.
The majority of people into a fandom or hobby or something. I wonder if that, is the case in any way. Um,
Yeah, you could be right about that. I mean, um, that's one of the reasons that, like, when Gundam Evolution came out, like, I knew that the devs were Gundam fans because there were some deep cuts in that roster, like, that
yeah,
is
yeah,
not
right.
not who I would have picked if I were doing it, and maybe that makes me a normie fan, like, maybe I'm not, as hip with it and down as I thought I was.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's just the coolest thing about Gundam is there's
Mhm.
at first, and a lot of times I think we speak about how there's so much of it, but then like it allows me to kind of move on. Like I'm going through my seed freedom phase, which I'm disgusted by. But
I have no idea what's going on with you. This is why
yeah,
you and I haven't talked in a while.
yeah, that's the true reason.
But yeah, 16 times a second, it's mentioned this. The 0080 and 0083 kits could use a revive. The Dom Tropins, Gelgu Marine, and Jaeger and the GMs definitely need a revive. Honestly, there's a lot of high grades that need revives, and I think that it's kind of disappointing that they've kind of like stopped making revive line high grades. It seems like all of the new high grades that are coming out are either attached to a new series like G-Quux, Witch from
Yeah.
Mercury, or they're P Bandai.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I guess at least what's pretty cool and interesting is when I go to Target and I see the Requiem for Vengeance and the Seed Freedom kits. You know,
Yeah.
that but you're right. It is always the new show, but I guess at least we're seeing them there. Yeah, I mean, it's going to get to a point where they can't make a thing for everything, or by the time they would get to the deepest cut, it's time to revive. Um,
Exactly, it's, going back to the topic of GBO2, like, by the time they have gone through every mobile suit in all of Gundam, GBO3 is gonna wanna come out because it's like, "Come on, like,
yeah,
you're already on a 20-year-old game engine," like,
I
it's
know. Which okay, game engine, real quick. I think you saw the tweet where they were talking about with the new Seed game coming out, they're retooling the lock-on system, which
Yeah, I saw you mention that, that is
does that speak exactly to, I think, some of the fundamental things we would want fixed with the newer, gun if they were to port those Gundam games or update, whatever, remaster, and it's amazing that they called that out specifically. That
yeah,
gives me hope for what they're gonna be doing with the game.
especially if that new targeting system is as good as I hope it's going to be, then I hope that they adapt that to things like side stories,
That's exactly my first thought
yeah,
because basically how it works in side stories is you're always locked onto something. You can change it, but it's always gonna like, you know, move you. You don't have the freedom. So I think the idea here is, and that might have been how it was on this Seed game that's getting remastered because they didn't come out in Japan, but I know there's plenty of people here. Well, it didn't come out in the US, only in Japan. There's plenty of people here that probably played it somehow. But I wonder if that was the lock-on system, or something, and I don't know, but knowing that they're doing this just in because I love games, it makes me excited.
yeah, yeah, I because to your point, I mean, it's an older game that's being remastered, and when they take the sort of modern sensibilities and sort of the modern, comforts and quality
Yeah.
of life updates and apply them to old games, you see how much of an improvement that can make, and so yeah, if they can keep the core gameplay that was so good about some of those, old Gundam games, but just kind of fix the things that were buggy, then that would be awesome, and I think that obviously that team knows exactly what feels right for that system. And honestly, really, like, to get real nerdy and dev speak with it, it's like all they really need to do is introduce like a forward-facing 180-degree field of view that's what dictates the
The
lock
tur
on.
the lock on, yeah.
So instead of because the biggest problem is obviously like if you have an enemy that's behind you that's closer to you than the
Yeah,
one that's in front of you, and you hit lock on, all of a sudden your camera whips around and you've exposed your back to someone that you were shooting at. Um, And so, like, if they just institute like 100 and well, not even 180, like 90-degree field of view so that anybody within that field of view, that's
yeah,
who you lock on to.
yeah.
That's all it takes.
Need that because I'm playing Rise of the Ronin right now, and it's reminding me how, good a lock-on system is because the game has a grappling hook, and it's
Mm,
the right trigger, which is cool because that's, like, easy access, and just if, like, there's an enemy shooting arrows at me, I can go look up, press lock on, and I know my grappling hook's gonna pull him down.
yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
Great game, by the way, because you can get a bayonet and use it as a melee weapon, and then, like, if you do the combo right, you finish it by, like, shooting them in the head.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's a good game, good game.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I haven't played like any video games in a long while. I need to get that gaming in now before the baby comes.
Oh, that's right, yeah, all the portable gaming,
Yeah. Yeah,
the plug
exactly. Get on Switch and, well, or Lola PC and play on my phone.
there you go, yeah.
There you go. Well, we have a couple minutes left, and so with that in mind, I do wanna hit a quick, my favorite segment of every week,
Oh, yay.
Trash 'em are.
Alright.
So there's a lot of things to complain about this week in the world of Gundam. I think that at least specifically in the world of Gunpla, there has been like a huge bit of drama around the folks over at Cerulean Project and basically creating a Gunpla creators blacklist and blocklist, whatever they call them these days. It's canceling people, which I thought that in the year of our Lord 2025 we had moved past this,
No.
but apparently not. And so I guess my free advice to all of you is whatever you want to do in life, whether it's build Gunpla, be a plumber, be president of the United States, there is no way that you're ever going to accomplish the goals that you have if you concern yourself with what other people are doing and saying online.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like,
The Sometimes, maybe you have good intentions, but then you can just get caught up, you
yeah,
know? And, and then sometimes it's just a bunch of noise, and then nothing really comes out of it.
right, and the biggest thing that's hilarious to me is, like, you would think that people that have grown up in the age of the internet would be familiar with the Streisand effect, and so, obviously, by creating a list of people that you're not supposed to follow, what's the first thing that everyone who sees that list is going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna go see them and see like, I mean, I'm a little disappointed I wasn't on the list, probably because I'm such a crappy builder anyway that nobody follows me. But, I saw some names on the list that I was like, "Hey, that guy's really good." Like, I
It's
don't
interesting.
know or care what their politics are. All I know is that, like, that's a sweet looking build, and I'm jealous that he's got one of those, like, water spray booths.
Oh, yeah, those things are nice. Yeah, it's this stuff is sad, and again, it's like this stuff comes from good intentions, you know, but like I feel like a lot of culture in the past, 10 years has sort of like informed how people need to react in these situations, but it's not
Yeah,
the best way to go about it. And I think we're figuring that out. I think slowly, people are figuring that out.
hopefully.
The biggest tell to me, and I think I was talking about this even here and on my show, the whole Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively situation that's going on.
Yeah.
because it's almost that in a way. It's where, and again, the case isn't over yet, although today some interesting things came out about it, but basically it's they're defaming this guy, trying to
Yeah.
cancel him, but there's actually no proof of any of the things they're claiming.
He
Um,
said, she said.
so
Which, on that subject, like, speaking of Blake Lively, my wife and I have been rewatching Gossip Girl a lot, and, like, Blake Lively is the one that's living life and living her best life because she's not on the internet spreading rumors about people, which is apparently what she does in real life.
wow. What so I haven't seen Gossip Girl, but what is does she have an interesting character in it or something?
I mean, she's just one of the lead characters and, she's,
Oh,
like, one of the subjects of the
okay.
gossip, you know?
I see. Yeah, which
So,
is the
my
name of the
advice to everyone is to be the person that other people talk about, not the person that talks about people.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's, yeah, that's yeah, good for yeah, not spending your time talking about other people. Sometimes that develops as parasocial
Yeah.
relationships.
And that can be supremely toxic.
Yeah.
16 times a second says it best here. We don't need politics ruining the Gundam community. I like keeping work and home separate. In my opinion, I try to ignore it and try not to feed into the narcissism. Absolutely.
And
And one of the big red flags to me is whenever anybody tries to conflate, um, social uh, issues with like a hobby. Like, I'm doing miniature painting for dog adoptions, or, like, I'm doing, um, you know, knitting for reproductive rights. Gunpla for mental health is kind of like it goes back to my trash MR from last week where I was complaining about the marketing of, like, doing cooking shows for
oh,
a
yeah.
video game. You know, there's a way that it can be done where it works, and it's when the thing has some relationship to the thing that you're trying to connect it to. So, like, let me explain it the way I would to a toddler. So, like, if I were talking to my daughter, you wouldn't compare a a red apple to a green banana because they're not the same fruit and they're not the same color. You can compare a red apple to a red raspberry because they're both red, but they're different fruits. Or you could compare a red apple to a green apple because they're different colors, but they're the same fruit. Gunpla and mental health have about as much in common as, like, I don't know, tuna and Swiss cheese.
Yeah, no, yeah, you know what, and I get it. It's one of those things where it's almost like, "Here's a Band-Aid,"
Yeah,
you know, and there could be specific cases where something like that could be good. Um,
for
but
sure.
but yeah, I feel like, yeah, it's almost like kinda quickly creating a Band-Aid and not really serving. So
Because one of the things is always going to be compromised in service to the other. You can't serve two masters, and so, like, it's like when people say that they can multitask. Like, nobody can multitask. You can do multiple things at once, but the quality to which you can do those individual things is going to diminish very greatly. And what you'll notice is that one is always going to diminish slightly more than the others.
mm, yeah, I do know about, yeah, spreading your focus thin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, the cats have been I don't know if they detected it through the,
He's trying to affect my mental health as he saw me getting worked up, and he's like,
yeah, there you go. Yeah, the cats can do that
but
sometimes.
that's my trash MR this week is like, come on, guys, keep the peace, stop
Yeah,
gossiping about each other, and, like,
exactly.
and the best part about this community is that you don't have to interact with people if you don't want to. You don't control what other people do, but, like, you don't have to interact with them.
Yeah,
That's fine.
and that kinda goes to, yeah, that, um, not doing too much, or, we were
Mhm.
just talking about that, like, there's this kind of, there's a word
Mind
for
your
it.
business.
Yeah, there's that too, yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, what about you? What do you have a, trash MR this week?
Do I? You know what?
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, I was actually thinking about this earlier, but I think because I've just been so in doing all this stuff. So if I could, I will say something then, and this
Okay.
goes back to Ryan Reynolds. I know it has nothing to do with anything, but it's kind of the canceling.
You
But
know
what's
what?
interest
It still counts as a Trashomar.
okay, so what's interesting is he did this sort of, amended or whatever, there's terminology for it, to be like, when they're like, "Okay, you're saying all this defamation about Justin Baldoni, Nice Pool, for instance."
Yeah.
Have you heard about that whole thing? Where the
No.
character of Nice Pool is based on, so that whole arc, they reshot when they did reshoots for the movie, they added in this whole Justin, Nice Pool, and people are saying, "Oh, it's just like Justin Baldoni." They're, like, copying, and people are like, "No, no, it's not possible." There's even a nose prosthetic on him to match the guy's nose because he's Jewish. And people are like, "No, no, no, this couldn't be true."
Yikes.
But in the legal document, the what they're saying is you can't make up things about someone that isn't true. Like, that's why we can dismiss this. But Ryan
Mhm.
Reynolds is coming back saying, actually, no, what the things am doing are sincere. These are sincere opinions about him. So that means so he's basically confirming Nice Pool is based off of Justin Baldoni. He's legally saying that so that he can defend himself. So that
Yikes.
you know what? I didn't like Deadpool and Wolverine when it came out, when I watched it, and I think this further cements why I didn't. It's just it wasn't genuine, and
No. No,
you could
it
just feel it. It was just these jokes, and it's like, okay, they got Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, and this is all we're getting? And now we know that Ryan Reynolds is going in there, adding things, changing things up. Crazy, crazy. Because what if I got to direct my first film? And then a couple of people were like, "You know what? I don't really like that guy. Let's, take over." Or
yeah.
what if I said something about, Gundam, Battle Alliance or Breaker not being on Xbox, and Bandai's like, "You know what? We're gonna cut ties with that guy." Wouldn't you hate it?
That would be a very, crappy thing to do. I would say that there's a lot of egos caught up in something like that for sure.
Exactly. That's what these, things are. It's like people's egos,
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess maybe and I think that's why this thing is so fascinating to me, because I loved Ryan Reynolds growing up,
Mhm.
like, not growing up, but when I became a teenager, like, he's just a few years older than me, or a little bit, and so it's like Van Wilder, Blade 3, like, oh my god, Deadpool, like, this guy is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and he always seemed like, he very much curated his image to appear as, like, this, like, "I'm one of the guys,"
Yeah, nice, goofy, like, downplaying with jokes and stuff. Yeah, I know, sad.
Mm-mm.
But
Meanwhile, there are other people that I think, deserve much more credit. So, rather than watching, Deadpool and Wolverine, you guys should get on Netflix and watch, The Electric State, that, movie with, Chris Pratt and
did
Millie
you
Bobby
watch it?
Brown. Yeah, it's a fun little action flick. So,
You know what? It wasn't as bad as people say. I didn't finish it, but I would say it's not as bad as people were saying. And, Millie Bobby Brown is just a good actor.
yeah.
Like, and she's just one of those where I just like to watch them act, because it's like
And
it's
it's a
sad. It's weird. It's like I
star-studded
know they're
cast. Like,
acting
that
from
is that is an ensemble cast.
yeah. Oh, yeah, and it's like I like to watch the degree in which they're acting, knowing that they're acting. It's like I like to watch behind the scenes of movies. I like to
Yeah.
see how is someone gonna act,
Yeah, yeah, I recently caught an interview with Tom Hardy where he was talking about, like,
Ooh,
how his life changed, and he thought that after leaving stage acting and getting a couple of Hollywood gigs, and then he got Star Trek, which was,
right,
like, the big
Nemesis,
break. He
yeah,
was like, "Oh, I'm set now, like, my career is all up." And then, after that, his career flopped because
yeah,
that movie was so poorly received. And so for years, he was like, I'm ruined. Like, I'm gonna go to drinking, and, like, then he went back to stage acting and, like, had to basically
wow,
rebuild his career from scratch, which is, you know,
and it's
fascinating
crazy
stuff.
because even when he kinda came back, you wouldn't recognize him. I didn't realize he was the guy in Nemesis at
Yeah,
first, when he kinda came back,
exactly.
yeah, that's interesting.
Speaking of actors that have come back, and sorry to drag this out a little further, but again, another flick that you guys should check out on Netflix, is Trap with Josh Hartnett.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard about that. Did you like it?
It's a Shyamalan flick.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, it's interesting. It's just like it's such a surreal movie, and Josh Hartnett is fantastic in it. My wife and I were even commenting on the fact that like, wow, we haven't like heard anything from Josh Hartnett in years, and it's like, oh, it's just because he's just been at home being a good dad and like not making up lies about people and putting on prosthetic noses.
Well, yeah, that's another good call. Yeah, because Josh Hartnett wasn't doing stuff for a little while. Like he did the teen movies, and then he was gone. I've heard him being suggested for Batman.
Yeah, I heard that he was, it was either him was he in it
Him,
against
it's
Christopher
him
Nolan?
and
Or
the dude from Supernatural
oh, yeah,
and Alan Rich. Like I'm just saying, these are like names that
that have
are
been
being
floated
thrown
around.
around. And then the guy that's in that Blake Lively movie, but he looks like a cool Batman. It's just another man, his name Brad Skelnar. I don't know, I'm making stuff up, but, um, the one thing though when it comes to hiring an actor to play a superhero is I feel like and it might be more work, but hire martial artists, bodybuilders or something, you know?
Yeah,
Maybe you have to work on their acting, but a lot of times it's not that the person needs to be convincing in acting. They need to sell the superhero. Um,
yeah, yeah, for sure. There are very few actors that have there's lots of method actors out there, but very few of them are willing to kind of like bulk up and get like a superhero body and then like engage in all the physical stunts and stuff like that. And so it's like you look at someone like Hayden Christensen, and you know, say what you will about his performance in like Attack of the Clones, but his dedication to the physical aspect of
yes.
playing Anakin Skywalker is second to none. Like,
And the way the choreography was, it's not like he had to like bulk up or, anything. Just typical fitness that would be safe for him to do that type of stuff, which that is really cool. And it's just when I see like Chris Evans, he's cool.
yeah.
But he doesn't sell me as a superhero. He's never sold me as Captain America. I don't know if that's blasphemous to say. I never really talk about Marvel, but you know, um, the Iron Man one works because Iron Man. Um,
Yeah, I mean, that's all personality. There's not a whole lot of, like, physicality involved with that
no.
role.
But like I tell you, I would love if they got a Batman. I think they kind of nailed it with Ben Affleck. The kind of what I was looking for.
I think so, yeah, I it's like it's one of those things where I wish that they had gotten to him, like, 10 years earlier,
Yeah.
and then you could have gotten, like, that full Batman, like,
Yeah.
trilogy or what have you.
Just like Henry Cavill is James Bond. Which I
Mm,
think they could still do a bunch of movies, but that should have already happened.
I think you're right, um, I think he would definitely pull it off really well.
Yeah.
Man, good way to cap off the show talking
Yeah,
about movies and
I
and
know.
actors. So I appreciate you bringing up, Ryan Reynolds as Trashomar for this
Yeah, I know
movie.
that's where that came from, yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for sticking with us, for hanging out tonight, and, checking out all this Gunpla news with us. Hopefully, you all are as excited for the Gundam card game as I am now, knowing that I didn't miss out on any of the good stuff.
Yeah, I know that you made me feel better about it too.
Yeah, once you remove the FOMO, all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, yeah, I can definitely get down on this." But yeah, definitely go check out Adam's video from earlier today reviewing the Double X with
Yep,
the G Falcon. Check out my video from earlier today with painting using melamine sponge and a couple of other things. The painting was just probably the largest
yeah,
thing that I wanted to show off as part of that. And until then, we will catch you, of course, tomorrow on the Gundam Explained show live.
yep,
So you guys have a wonderful evening. We will see you tomorrow. Have
yep.
a good night, everybody.
See y'all.